Right, good morning, everybody. Let me just get my screen sorted out. I seem to be really on top. Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's Tess here. How are you all doing? It's day 5 of our 21 happiness experience, and this is a really exciting one. This morning, when I talk, is going to be a lot more of taking notes, I would say. Just take lots of notes as I speak because there's quite a bit to it. It's slightly more complex. It's taking us to a slightly different level. And, these are the ways we can really start shifting habits that are pretty much stuck, things that, we've been thinking and doing for a long time that perhaps is sort of holding us back from being able to free ourselves up to have a more happier experience on a daily basis. And that can be linked to anything from as far back as day dot or, last week. So, let's talk about that today. It's lovely to have some of you here online already. So good morning, Donna. Who else have we got here that's going to say good morning? So our topic today is a happy anchor and journaling. As you can see, I've added journaling in there because anchoring ourselves is something I'm going to explain to you about today. It's slightly more complex. Anchoring is actually an NLP technique, a neuro-linguistic programming technique. And there are a lot of people out there who have qualified and actually gone and studied how to do this type of technique and many others that help people shift states and change the way they feel through their physiology. And of course, yesterday we spoke about physiology. We spoke about how we hold ourselves and how that can, one, tell us how we're feeling. It can also change how we feel by changing the way we hold ourselves. And you know what I also realized after yesterday's call was that when we sometimes sit at a desk all day, we often are hunched up or hunched over our desk, and that also can create a feeling that is not how we want to feel. So make sure when you're at your desk, you're also, giving yourself oxygen by keeping your shoulders back and you're sitting upright, and build those back muscles so that you can actually sit in a good posture. But today is anchoring and journaling. Now, I'm going to explain to you what anchoring is, but I am not going to go through the actual technique of anchoring yourself because I think it's quite complex, and I think it could potentially get you stuck on this path at this stage. What I would say is we're going to discuss a form of journaling that can sort of replace the anchoring piece. And if you'd like to explore getting an anchor put in place for you with a particular issue, then get in touch with me and I can introduce you to somebody near you who does NLP, who you can then maybe have a chat with. Okay, so that's just to tell you that I am not a qualified NLP practitioner, but I can tell you what anchoring is so you understand it. Once we understand something, we can know whether it's for us or whether we can find another way to get through what it is that we're working on. All right, so let me just say hi to everyone. Hello, Amanda. Hi, Claire. Good morning, Karen. And hello, Isabel. You are the ladies that are able to be with us at this time. I'm getting great feedback from some of the others who are working at this point. And I just want to say to you guys who are coming back to the recorded version, thank you and well done for keeping going. It's not always easy, but if you find your time of the day and you stick to it like these ladies are, coming at 8 a.m., you will find it will work just perfectly for you. Okay, right, anchoring. So I'm going to read some notes here because this is the best way to pass this information to you. So an anchor is a stimulus that triggers a response in you or another person. So when a person reaches the peak of an intense emotional state, if a specific stimulus is applied, a link is neurologically created between the stimulus and the state. An anchored state is always a rich, fully associated psychological state or experience. So that in itself sounds like a minefield of information, okay? But really what we're saying is, if you think about any emotion that you have in your life right now. Maybe you go out and you're celebrating and you're super, super happy. And when you're happy, you get into a really high state. Like, for instance, for me, it's when I'm dancing around the kitchen to my favorite playlist. And I get to that really peak state where I feel absolutely at my ultimate best. What they're saying is you can actually anchor that feeling when you're at the peak state by touching a particular part of your body and centering that feeling with that touch. So it's like a touch point. The idea is that you're choosing a part of your body that you don't touch regularly. So, like if you sit like this, don't make that your anchor. But sometimes it's touching the back of your shoulder or an elbow, things you don't do on a normal day, normally. And the idea is that the more you get yourself into that peak state and then touch that point, then later on down the line, when you want to feel that feeling, when you're not feeling so good, you could simply go to that part of your body and touch it. And you will then feel the sensation of that elevated, happy experience flow through your body. And that is, in essence, what an anchoring exercise is all about. So, does that make sense? Just in its simple form, can anybody just say to me that yes, they can grasp? Morning, Lynn. That they're grasping what I've just said. So I'll explain it to you. For instance, maybe you're really angry about something. Okay. Now this is what happens without us realizing it. You're really angry. You're absolutely raging. Okay. And then possibly what happens is you touch some part of your body, some random part of your body in the midst of your rage, or you do something. You have a very specific action that you do in that moment. What can happen then later on is that maybe you've anchored yourself in some way to that anger. So every time you have anger, you might do the same activity or the same behavior. It's a slightly different thing, but this is how we become conditioned to reacting in a particular way every time something very similar in a similar format happens. Great. Oh, Isabel's experienced NLP. Okay, great. So you're all understanding what I'm saying. The other thing that can be interesting, especially when you're with somebody, for instance, is if you're with somebody who's very sad and crying, and they're in this very low state of sadness, and you go to console them, put your arms around them and hug them, because that's what we want to do, right? When somebody's not feeling on top of the world, we want to make them feel better. We want to make them feel connected, and you hug them, all right? And so they do. They eventually feel better, and you go, oh, did the right thing. Then what happens is the next time you meet up with them and you go, hi, how are you? And you give the hug when we're allowed to, I guess, after COVID and all that. And you who consoled that person previously, go back and give them a hug. You might have anchored something in that moment with them. And then every time you hug them, they get that sad feeling. And you then notice their kind of sadness and you get a feeling and you both feel quite awkward. So our connection with others is actually a lot more sensitive and subtle and important to be aware of than we actually realize. So yes, Isabel's experienced NLP, and I would imagine, Isabel, it was for something very specific, and I would hope that it actually managed to help support you through whatever you were working on. What I want to speak to you now about is something that I know you can absolutely do yourself safely, and it's maybe a slightly slower process. You will get a result, but it's going to be more of a conscious result, something that you are very much in charge of, and so very empowering, and a practice that you can learn and you can actually teach to anybody of any age who is able to use a pen and write things down. And that's journaling. Now, we all know journaling as something where you open up your beautiful notebook and you write your thoughts down. Or like some of us are doing at the moment, or all of us on this program, of course, are doing our 10 gratitude pieces in the morning. That is a form of journaling. And then, there's other things you can do in your journal, like creative writing, One thing I can recommend to you when it comes to journaling is a book by Julia Cameron called The Artist's Way. I think I've mentioned it before. It's a really fantastic way to become very free with your writing, free flowing with your thoughts. So if you're interested in writing or becoming more creative with your words, fantastic book to get. You can get it on the A platform, the Amazon platform, and you can get a workbook that takes you through a 12-week program. All right. But for today, with regards to journaling, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 exercises that you can actually do that can actually help you create a way to work through feelings and emotions that don't make you feel empowered. Now, what we want to accept is through this course. Oh, have you got that book, Isabel? Not started it yet? Okay, well, when you're ready. I had to start it 3 times before I really got into it. But, you know, every time you start, you get somewhere. You come back, you start again. And before you know it, you're writing like a whiz through those pages. So let us know how you get on. Okay. With the happiness experience, as I explained in the beginning, this is not about us being able to dance on tables at the end of the day and be crazy, wild, happy, free hippies, okay? What we're looking for here is to have a feeling inside that is stable and makes us feel secure and happy, content, with less stress, less anxiety, and less overwhelm. Learning a way that can actually bring you to this place whenever you need it. Okay. And oh, Lynn, I'm starting the Artist's Way in January with Paula Pratt, a small group. I think there might be spaces left. Gosh, Lynn, thanks for that. Will you private message me that information, and then we can make a point of sharing it later on? That would be fantastic. Okay, so here are some journaling exercises that you might want to write notes down for. The idea here is that we've all had experiences in our life that go, as I said, go back to perhaps a long time ago. And every now and again, maybe when we get feel a little bit out of control, oh, that was a crazy noise, a little bit of stress, I just experienced in that moment. I thought the walls were coming down. We sometimes revert to certain behaviors and feelings in our body that create discomfort. So by being able to sort of acknowledge these feelings in words, this is the first journaling you can do. You can write out that intense feeling that you feel when you're not feeling so good. It's a challenge, but it's about taking some time out and just saying, how do I really feel when I'm in overwhelm? What do I do? How do I breathe? Sort of become aware. I mean, if you're in overwhelm and you've got the time to remember, to actually sit down and write what you are actually feeling in that moment, really capture it, like solidify it on paper. That is fantastic, because now what you've got something that you can contain and you can see it. You can see it and it's not in you anymore. It's now out on paper. And then the next part to that is to write down how you feel when you're having a very good experience, when you're feeling on top of the world, okay? And that is something that you can then create. And I've actually got a script for you that I'm going to send you all after this today, that you can actually fill in. So it's got basic sentences. It says this happened, and then you fill in the details, and I was here, and this is how I felt, and then you describe these places. And what you're looking to do is to really solidify the good feeling. When you come to having that overwhelmed feeling again, you could go and read that overwhelmed state piece that you wrote out, and then straight afterwards you can read out the feeling piece that you wrote about the more content, peaceful, happy state. And what you're doing is you're showing your mind and your body 2 very different experiences that you have felt, and in that way you can start saying, I choose this good feeling and not that feeling. It's it's an interesting concept. It's slow and it's steady. And I believe fundamentally that if you want to shift anything, it's about really slowing things down to the point where you can feel and understand it, make sense of it, and then move on to a feeling that is better for you. So that's one of the things you can do. The other thing is think about 3 people you really know. So now you've got the scenario that a problem, let's say you've got a problem, you're stressed or something's not working and you can't figure out how to move forward. You're like really stuck. What you do is you think of 3 people you know, 3 different people. They're close to you or somebody who inspires you, somebody who you think would be relatively good at solving problems. And what you then do is you sit down, you write out the problem that you're experiencing, and then you go, okay, now let's say Jane. How would Jane handle this situation? The way I know her, okay? And then you write out from Jane's perspective. So you kind of morph yourself into Jane, okay, as you perceive her. And you write out what Jane would do in this situation. And then you maybe think of Frank. Maybe Frank is another very good friend of yours or a colleague that you work with who always seems to be really efficient at problem solving or crisis management or whatever it is. And then you morph into Frank and you write out Frank's way of solving this. Does he ask questions? Does he break it down into doable chunks? Just however this person you perceive handles the situation. And then you go to Joy. Let's call her Joy because she is solving your problem, and you write that out. What you're doing is you're showing yourself that in this situation, your challenge or your way or your thoughts or your feeling is not the only one that is the right feeling to have or the wrong feeling to have. That there are other ways at looking at anything in front of you, whether it's a challenge, a problem, or even something good, okay? And it can help you shift and find a way through, because you might want to take pieces of your morphed people's way and create a new scenario for yourself that you write out. And that way, what you're doing is you're starting to let your body get used to doing it a different way. Because we're creatures of habit, right? And what we do is we always go back to autopilot. And what we want to do with these exercises is begin to create a new state of thinking and a new way of doing something. So changing the habit in a way. But what we're doing is here we're talking about feelings and emotions. So we're focusing on when our feelings get in the way, when they overwhelm us. What you'll find, and I'll get to number 3 as well shortly, and I know we're going over a bit, but what you'll find when you do these exercises is you will be writing feelings out, and you might actually have a small trigger to where it might have stemmed from at some point in your life. Now don't panic if that happens. Just remember to stay calm and just keep writing out what you're feeling. And just know that I'm there for you at any point if you want to reach out and share something. I know some of you have already, and I'm here if you want to talk further. Okay. And then the last example you can do, and guys, we'll finish at 20 past. The last writing piece you can do is give your feelings a name. Okay, and I'll put this in the email out when I send it out to you. So you could associate a feeling with a color. So when you want to feel happy or whatever, write about it as a color. So do a paragraph exercise of particular emotions as colors, so that instead of having to think about the meaning of your feeling that you're trying to capture within yourself, all you have to do is think about the color, and wow, there you are. You're feeling those feelings because you've written a paragraph about that color linked to the feeling. And so when you see those colors around, it can also help you move in that direction. Now you can write this for feelings that make you feel sad as well, but you can also write them in a way that you find a positive out of the difficult feeling. So anger is a form, a process. An anger state is something we're allowed to feel. It comes along, maybe, Isabel, you'd be able to explain this to us, because of being a celebrant, you you help people a lot, I would imagine, with their feelings and emotions around loss. So, there's also a grieving process, and anger is one of those stages. So, we're allowed to be angry for whatever reason, but it's how we contain it and how we process ourselves through the anger to something that is lighter and less intense and more manageable for us. And that's all emotions, right? So you can call it weather. You can name a feeling around the weather. You can name it around a landscape or to music, which really excites me because I could put different feelings to different songs in my playlist. I could have a playlist for happiness. I can have a playlist for calm. I can have a playlist for when I'm angry and I want to transition out. So I can start with maybe a bit of an angry song, and then the next song follows and lightens and eases me into a peaceful state. So think about music. I do. I'm a music person. And then the other one would be an object. So maybe you've got your glasses and it can be, just go find the knowledge, okay? Or a pen which says, write it out. So my feelings are in the ink in my pen. So every time I pick up my pen, I can write about. You can find different objects. So that is in essence the topic for today. So the exercise that I'm going to leave you with today for the anchoring and journaling piece is to take these 3 examples that I've given you and see if over today you can create yourself some kind of support structure, like, the first one, the not good feeling, and then writing the replacement feeling that you want to feel. So create yourself something that you can carry around on a card, that you can read out whenever you want to feel that good feeling. And that will be your homework for today, on top of dancing in the kitchen to your music if you want to, or listening to your favorite song, doing your 10 affirmations, and then going to that mirror and speaking to yourself about how amazing you are in your words around 3 to 5 points. Are you good, ladies and gents? How are you feeling about all of that? If you have any questions, please just pop them in the comments here so that everybody can actually benefit from your question, and I will answer them for you. Is that all good? Are you all still with me here? Okay. As I said, it's a little bit of a tricky one, this one. Just from the point of view, maybe it's not tricky. Maybe I've decided it's tricky. You see, this is the thing. We all tell ourselves something is difficult, and that stops us. So maybe it's not tricky. Maybe it's actually about understanding it. But if you do want to do an anchoring experience, a formal anchoring experience, I do suggest that you seek out someone who does NLP. And if you don't know somebody, I would say reach out to Isabel, who has experienced it. She might be able to give some credibility to the person she worked with. Or come to me. I know a few people who are very, very qualified at NLP, and I can connect you up with them. But other than that, I believe sometimes also working with yourself and going through this process of writing stuff out can be a very good way of beginning the journey. So guys, thanks very much for joining me this morning. Yeah, it is interesting, Karen. It really is. Claire, yeah, wait for the email. I'll be doing that very shortly. Or you know someone fantastic. And if you do know somebody, just drop me a message in Messenger just to let me know who you would recommend, because I guess you're all in different parts of town and Scotland, so maybe there's somebody near you, and then I can recommend that person based on your recommendation. So guys, just be amazing. Remember, this is a beginning point, so this is something that you can get better at. But just start that journaling and, solve your problems this way. And also remember, we're figuring about feeling good. And I'm here for you if you have any questions. So look out for that email. It'll be out shortly this morning. Okay, take care. Bye for now. And just remember that in 21 days, or less than 21 days, we are going to be elevated. And it would be good actually to know from you guys how you're already starting to feel with this new practice. Are you excited? Are you filled with anticipation? What is your expectation? Keep it real. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.